So yeah, that brings me on to a comment we had on our YouTube channel recently, which we'd always do insights into things that you're doing in the criminal world, and that's been received really, really well.
Yeah.
But we've had requests as well to do some civil things also.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is like a really good one to start with. So just to take a deeper step into default judgment in the civil world. So what this basically means is once you commence a claim, the defendant will get so much time to defend, acknowledge, etc. And in very simple terms, when they don't acknowledge or defend within the specified time frame, you can apply for what's called default judgment. And the court will give you judgment in default because the defendant's not done what they need to do. It's not always the end though, because an application to set aside default judgment happens when someone, for a variety of different reasons, realises that judgment's been entered against them. Maybe they didn't receive it, maybe there's reasons why they didn't respond on time. So this is them coming to court and saying, I meet all the criteria, all the limbs of the test, etc. So this default judgment should be set aside and this claim should continue up to trial.
Yeah.
So that's, in a nutshell, what default judgment is. And perhaps I'll hand over to you, John, just to talk about how the application looks in court and what our Advocacy Club members were doing on Tuesday.
Yeah, certainly. So you're applying to set it aside. The test that the court has to apply is set out in Civil Procedure Rule 13, so 13.3. So the factors that the court needs to consider, number one, the court needs to consider effectively the merits of the claim.
Yep.
So the court needs to be satisfied that this is a case that is more than merely arguable. So you don't need to prove that you're going to win. You don't even need to prove that you're going to win on the balance of probabilities, which would be the test of trial. You simply need to prove that you've got a properly arguable case.
Yes.
And there's a couple of cases which set out in detail the test and the various factors that the court would take into account. So stage one, you need to show that your case has merit effectively.
Yeah.
The second factor that the court will then take into account is the court will consider whether there is any other good reason as to why default judgment should be set aside. And then lastly, in all the circumstances, the court needs to look at promptness. So they need to look at the party that's in default, how promptly have they acted in seeking to set this aside, and then basically taking any steps to rectify this. So the court needs to look at how promptly they have acted and taken any action.
And in practice, whenever I've had these, it's usually the third limb, promptness, that will cause them to fall down in the application. You barristers can be very creative with the first two limbs, can't you? But the last one, why did you wait 6 months to apply? It's very hard to get around that one. So whenever I've seen applications for default judgment to be set aside fail, it's usually because they weren't prompt.
Yeah, absolutely.